So the latest rounds of graphics card launches have been rough to say the least, plagued with shortages since day one, but that doesn't mean that units aren't moving, and Jon Peddie Research recently posted its GPU market share statistics for the fourth quarter of 2020, which shows that Nvidia managed to ship more discrete graphics cards compared to AMD despite ongoing stock and availability issues, which have affected all hardware launches since the beginning of last year. When looking at the overall market, the worldwide GPU shipments increased to 20.5, which marks a 12.4% growth over the previous year. Now, the research firm has forecasted that the installed and shipped GPU base will increase to 419 million units during the years of 2020 through 2025. Now, the PC market in general is showing signs of recovery after the pandemic disrupted global operations. Overall GPU shipments again increased by 20.5% over the previous quarter, and Intel's overall shipments increased by 20.5% as well. AMD shipments increased by 6.4%, while Nvidia saw a decline of 7.3%. These are overall GPU shipments, and Intel and AMD both had some strong products to offer users with their Renoir CPUs, or APUs rather, and Comet Lake based products. Now, Intel managed to ship a lot more 14nm desktop processors, which feature their own integrated solutions, and those are also accounted for in these figures. Now, let's look at some quick highlights from the overall market. So, one, AMD's overall unit shipments increased by 6.4% quarter to quarter. Intel's total shipments rose by 33.2% from last quarter, and Nvidia's decreased again by 7.3%. Two, the GPU's overall attach rate, which includes integrated and discrete GPUs, notebooks, desktops, and workstations to PC for the quarter was 113%, down 9.2% from last quarter. The overall PC market increased by 30.25% quarter to quarter and increased 35.76% year to year. 4. Desktop graphics add-in boards, AIBs that use discrete GPUs, decreased by 3.9% from last quarter. 5. Q4 2020 saw an increase in tablet shipments from last year. When looking at the discrete graphics segment, this particular market segment saw a gain, with Nvidia gaining 2-point market share lead over AMD. Nvidia GeForce GPUs now account for 82% of the overall dedicated GPU market share, while AMD Radeon graphics account for 18%. Now, that's a huge increase when compared to the previous year, where Nvidia was sitting at 73% on the discrete side and AMD at 27%. Now, Nvidia not only released high-end GeForce RTX 30 series GPUs, but also introduced more mainstream GPUs in the first quarter of 2021, which should also help them raise market share in the upcoming results. Now, while Nvidia and AMD both face severe supply and demand issues, the Green Team has been able to provide a slightly better flow of its discrete graphics card compared to AMD's Radeon RX 6000 series. Another contributing factor to Nvidia's higher market share gain is, of course, due to cryptocurrency mining. Now, Nvidia has taken measures in their eyes to counter crypto mining operations by limiting hash rates on its upcoming GeForce graphics cards, and also announced the CMP lineup, for which is going to be used for a dedicated crypto mining segment, but we'll have to see how this affects its market share growth in the few coming quarters. Now, flipping the switch over to the CPU side, the upcoming, sort of now released Rocket Lake lineup from Intel has been off to a rocky start, to say the least, with reviews of their parts going live well in advance of the official release, thanks to some retailers shipping out without discretion. But new benchmarks of Intel's Core i7 11700K Rocket Lake 8-core desktop CPU have been published by CapFrameX, which shows marginally better performance than the Comet Lake flagship in several gaming titles. And since the Rocket Lake CPU architecture is a new architecture designed for the desktop CPU segment, it will take a little time for it to mature. We know from our sources that Intel is still working on its microcode update internally and has yet to supply motherboard makers with the latest version for their respective BIOS firmwares. As such, the performance leaks that we've seen so far are technically not showing the high-end performance that the 11th generation desktop CPU lineup has to offer. However, a few board makers have recently started to evaluate a new BIOS which offers slightly better performance. And according to CapFrameX, the performance results for the Intel Core i7 11700K were done on the new BIOS on a Z570 motherboard platform, and the test platform includes a GeForce RTX 3090 and 32GB of DDR4 memory for each platform. Now, only 3 titles were tested, and that includes Crysis Remastered, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Cyberpunk 2077. The test settings and resolution are not mentioned, but in Crysis Remastered, the Intel Core i7-11700K shows a 6% performance improvement over the i9-10900K. In Cyberpunk 2077, the chip shows a 2% performance difference. Lastly, in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the Rocket Lake chip is 10% faster than the Comet Lake CPU. Now, this is an overall gain of around 6% over the last generation's flagship. Now, if Intel can manage to price the Core i7-11700K and the rest of the stack just right, then it might have a chance against the Ryzen 5000 series Zen 3 CPUs in terms of price to performance. Otherwise, AMD just needs to keep its supply running smoothly, and that would be enough to keep users from even considering moving to Intel, at least until the next generation Zen 4 or Alder Lake CPUs arrive. For more on this and other news, follow the link in the description and make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so that we don't miss you in the next one.